Hello Army, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, welcome, because today we are stepping into the world of luxury fashion, Swiss watchmaking, and the specific kind of editorial photography that stops you mid-scroll and makes you forget what you were doing. We are talking about Jungkook's Harper's Bazaar Korea June 2026 feature, shot in connection with his role as global brand ambassador for Hublot, and we are going to go through every dimension of this editorial, the watches, the styling, the photography, the specific visual choices, and what the whole package tells us about where Jungkook is right now as a cultural figure. This is a long and satisfying one, so get comfortable, because we have a lot of beautiful things to discuss. Let's start with the context. Because the Harper's Bazaar Korea June 2026 feature is not just a magazine shoot. It is the formal visual documentation of one of the most significant luxury brand partnerships that a K-pop artist has ever secured, and understanding the full weight of that partnership is essential for appreciating why these photographs look the way they do and why they are generating the response they are. Hublot is a Swiss luxury watchmaker with a history that stretches back to 1980, when the brand made its initial mark by doing something that was considered genuinely radical in the world of haute horlogerie, combining gold with rubber in a single timepiece, creating what they called the art of fusion. In an industry that values tradition above almost everything else, that kind of deliberate, confident disruption of convention is not a small thing. It is a statement of identity that has defined Hublot ever since, and that connects in meaningful ways to who Jungkook is as an artist. Hublot announced Jungkook as its newest global brand ambassador in February 2026, at an event in Seoul that generated immediate and enormous buzz both within the K-pop community and in the broader luxury and fashion world. The Hublot CEO Julien Tournard described Jungkook as one of the most influential artists of his generation and spoke about the partnership as a convergence of two creative identities that share a commitment to pushing forward rather than settling into comfortable convention. Those words, pushing forward, refusing to settle, defining originality rather than following it, could describe both Hublot's history and Jungkook's career with equal accuracy, and that alignment is what makes the partnership feel genuine rather than merely commercial. The specific watch at the center of the Harper's Bazaar Korea editorial is the Hublot Big Bang Original Unico, and before we talk about how it looks on Jungkook, let's talk about what it is, because this is genuinely an extraordinary object and it deserves proper introduction. The Big Bang Original Unico was launched in January 2026, designed to celebrate 20 years of the Big Bang's legacy while reinventing it for the contemporary moment. Hublot describes it as built layer by layer, which is a phrase that the brand has connected explicitly to Jungkook, noting that just as the watch is constructed through the accumulation of layers and components, Jungkook has built his artistic identity song by song, performance by performance, over more than a decade of work. The watch measures 43 mm in diameter and is available in multiple material executions: titanium, black magic ceramic, titanium ceramic, and king gold ceramic, each with its own distinct visual character while retaining the essential Hublot DNA. At the heart of the Big Bang Original Unico is Hublot's in-house MHUB 1280 movement, a self-winding flyback chronograph caliber with a column wheel and dual-clutch system that is visible through a sapphire caseback. The movement runs at 4 Hz and delivers approximately 72 hours of power reserve. The dial design creates depth through layered patterns and meticulously finished surfaces, and the overall construction achieves something that is genuinely difficult in watchmaking: the balance between ergonomic comfort on the wrist and the kind of technical presence that communicates its own sophistication at a glance. And in France, where luxury watches are priced with the full weight of their heritage and craftsmanship, this watch retails at 38,900 euros. That is approximately $40,000, or in Indonesian rupiah, around 600 million rupiah. That is the watch on Jungkook's wrist in these photographs. And knowing what it is makes the images even more extraordinary. Now let's actually talk about the photographs, because they are genuinely stunning and they deserve to be described and appreciated individually rather than just gestured at collectively. The Harper's Bazaar Korea editorial gave Jungkook 6 distinct looks, each of which creates a completely different visual impression while maintaining the coherence of the overall campaign aesthetic. And what is remarkable about moving through these 6 images is how naturally Jungkook inhabits each one, how the camera does not catch him wearing these looks but rather being them, which is the distinction that separates good editorial photography from great editorial photography. The first look that immediately catches your attention places Jungkook in a soft, cream-colored fluffy jacket, his tattooed hand resting near his face in a way that frames the blue-dialed Hublot on his wrist. The softness of the jacket creates a visual contrast with the hardness and technical precision of the watch that is immediately striking, and Jungkook's expression in this shot, direct, slightly heavy-lidded, entirely at ease, has a quality of effortless cool that makes the whole thing look inevitable. His tattoos are visible and prominent, with the army lettering across his fingers in clear view, and there is something about seeing that, the most personal mark on his body, the one that says Army in permanent ink placed in frame alongside one of the most prestigious timepieces in the world, that creates an emotional resonance that goes beyond fashion photography. The aquatic-themed shot is one of the most discussed images from the editorial, and for good reason. Jungkook is posed against or near water, the liquid catching light in ways that create an almost cinematic atmosphere, and his expression is one of those rare captured moments where a photograph communicates something about inner life rather than just outer appearance. There is a quality of reflectiveness to it, of someone who is somewhere in their own thoughts while also being completely present in the frame, and the combination of that internal quality with the technical precision of the hublet creates a visual that is both beautiful and strange in the best possible way. The army tattoo is visible here too, a constant thread through the editorial that connects every look back to the most fundamental relationship in Jungkook's professional life. The look that has generated perhaps the most widespread reaction is the leopard print jacket shot, because it is the one that most dramatically showcases a dimension of Jungkook's style identity that fans have been celebrating for years. Leopard print is a choice that requires a certain level of confidence and fashion intelligence to wear successfully. It is not a neutral option, not a safe option, and not an option that works for everyone. On Jungkook, it works completely. The jacket frames his face and his overall physical presence in a way that emphasizes rather than competes with his natural visual force, and the juxtaposition of the bold animal print with the precision of the hublet on his wrist creates exactly the kind of unexpected pairing that the art of fusion philosophy is built on. Wild and precise. Natural and engineered. Ancient and contemporary. That is both the watch and the person wearing it. The all-black look, what many fans have described as the most powerful image in the editorial, shows Jungkook in a deeply structured black outfit, with the black magic ceramic hublet anchoring the wrist. The monochromatic quality of this photograph, the way the different textures and materials within the outfit create interest without relying on color contrast, and the specific quality of Jungkook's gaze in this shot, direct, slightly challenging, completely certain, combine into something that does not look like promotional photography. It looks like a portrait of someone at the height of their power, captured in a moment of absolute stillness and absolute command. The hublet in this shot functions less as an accessory and more as an architectural element of the overall composition, a piece of mechanical engineering that shares the frame with a person who has his own internal engineering of equal complexity and equal precision. The editorial includes a particularly intimate close-up shot where Jungkook's tattooed hand is held up to the camera, displaying both the army lettering on his fingers and the hublet in full detail simultaneously. This image has generated a specific and very emotional response within the fandom, because it puts two things in direct conversation that exist in completely different registers of meaning. The watch is worth $40,000 and represents the pinnacle of Swiss luxury craftsmanship. The tattoo is permanent and personal and says Army. And they are in the same frame, give an equal visual weight, as if to say that these things are not contradictory but complementary, that you can be a global luxury brand ambassador and also have your fan's name written on your hand forever, and that both of those things are simply true about who you are. Let's talk about what Jungkook himself has said about this partnership, because his words in the various interviews and statements connected to the hublet announcement reveal a lot about how he genuinely thinks about this collaboration and about luxury watches more broadly. He has been remarkably candid about the fact that he was not previously a watch person, that watches were not something he paid particular attention to or felt a strong connection with before crossing paths with hublet. He has described that first encounter, at the FIFA World Cup in 2022 where he performed Dreamers with hublet as the official timekeeper, as the beginning of a genuine curiosity about the brand and about watchmaking as a craft. What he says about what drew him to hublet specifically is revealing. He describes it as a brand that anyone can make their own, regardless of age, noting the youthful energy that coexists with a sense of timelessness in the watches. That phrase, youthful energy coexisting with timelessness, could easily describe Jungkook's own artistic identity, and the resonance between how he characterizes the brand and how his fans would characterize him suggests that this is a genuine alignment rather than a marketing talking point. He also describes the ambassadorship as feeling like a full circle, connecting his performance of Dreamers at the World Cup through hublet's presence there to this formal partnership years later. The Harper's Bazaar Korea editorial is the visual realization of all of this, the physical embodiment of what the Hublet and Jungkook partnership looks like when it is translated into the language of high-fashion editorial photography. And what it looks like is extraordinary. Not because of any single element, not just because of the watches or the styling or the photography, but because of the specific alchemy that happens when you put a genuine talent with a developed visual intelligence in front of a camera and give them objects and environments that resonate authentically with who they actually are. Jungkook has always been someone who understands visual self-presentation as a form of artistic expression. We have discussed this in multiple previous videos: the long blonde hair decision, the tattoo collection built over years of deliberate choices, the Calvin Klein campaigns, the Mexico Palace outfit decision, the consistent quality of intention in how he presents himself across different contexts and occasions. The Harper's Bazaar Korea editorial adds another chapter to that story, and it is one of the most visually sophisticated chapters yet. The 6 looks, the 6 emotional registers, the way the Hublet functions differently in each context, as a statement of technical authority in the black look, as a surprising contrast in the leopard print look, as an intimate personal detail in the tattooed hand close-up, all of it reflects someone who approaches this kind of work with genuine creative intelligence rather than just showing up and looking good in whatever is handed to him. It is also worth noting the specific significance of Harper's Bazaar Korea as the platform for this editorial, because magazine choice matters in the luxury fashion world, and this choice is a meaningful one. Harper's Bazaar Korea is one of the most respected fashion publications in South Korea, and its editorial vision tends toward a kind of elevated, artistically serious fashion photography that does not sacrifice conceptual depth for commercial appeal. Being featured in Harper's Bazaar Korea is not just a commercial opportunity, it is an artistic statement, a placement that carries specific cultural and aesthetic connotations about who you are and how you want to be seen in the fashion world. For Jungkook to be the cover subject of the June 2026 issue, in the context of the Hublet ambassadorship, is a convergence of commercial and artistic recognition that represents a genuine level of arrival in the fashion world as distinct from the music world. Let's also think about the broader picture of Jungkook's brand partnerships in 2026, because the Harper's Bazaar Korea shoot exists within a context of remarkable commercial and cultural momentum that speaks to his specific position in the global cultural landscape. Hublet, Calvin Klein, Chanel Beauty, 3 partnerships with 3 completely different luxury and fashion brands, each of which addresses a different dimension of his public identity and each of which has produced visual content that has generated significant engagement both within the fan community and in the broader fashion and luxury media. This is not the profile of a K-pop idol who has been placed with brands by a management team pursuing commercial opportunities. This is the profile of someone who has become a genuine cultural figure in the fashion and luxury world in his own right, someone that brands want to align with not just because of the fan engagement he brings but because of the specific visual and cultural identity he represents. The Hublet partnership in particular feels like the most artistically resonant of the 3, because there is a genuine and specific conceptual alignment between the brand's philosophy and Jungkook's artistic identity that goes beyond the commercial mechanics of celebrity endorsement. Both Hublet and Jungkook have been defined by the combination of precision and disruption, the commitment to technical excellence coexisting with the willingness to challenge convention, to do things differently, to create something that does not fit neatly into existing categories. The art of fusion is not just Hublet's design philosophy. It is also, in a real and substantive sense, a description of how Jungkook approaches his own artistry, the blending of genres, of influences, of cultural references, of the personal and the professional, the vulnerable and the powerful. The Harper's Bazaar Korea editorial captures all of this. It captures the watches and the luxury and the fashion credibility. It captures the tattoos and the personal history and the army letters that will be on his fingers forever. It captures the leopard print and the black satin and the cream fluffy jacket and the 6 different versions of one person who somehow makes each of them feel completely authentic. And it captures that specific quality of Jungkook at this precise moment in his career, post-military, Arirang era, world tour, Rolling Stone cover, Mexico wrestling masks and all, which is the quality of someone who has come into complete possession of himself and is absolutely clear about who he is and what he wants to show the world. That clarity is what makes the photographs extraordinary. The watch is $40,000 and it is one of the finest examples of Swiss luxury watchmaking available in 2026. But the reason the photographs work, the reason they stop people mid-scroll and generate the response they do, is not the watch. It is the person wearing it. It is Jungkook, being completely, unapologetically, magnificently himself, in 6 different looks, on the pages of Harper's Bazaar Korea, with ARMY written on his hand. That is the editorial. That is the story. And as always with Jungkook, it is exactly as extraordinary as it should be. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up button. It genuinely helps the channel grow and reach more people who love this kind of content. Drop a comment below telling me which of the 6 looks from the editorial is your absolute favorite: the leopard print, the all black, the aquatic shot, the close-up of the tattooed hand. I want to know which one stopped you the hardest. Subscribe if you have not already, share this with your fellow ARMY, and I will see you in the next one. Purple you all.